Today on the Big 6 in 60, Luka leads the Lakers past the Cavs.
Luka Doncic scored his 15,000th career point.
The Rockets blow out the Knicks.
The Rockets take care of business tonight.
And Arizona prepares for Michigan in the Final Four.
A deep dive of Michigan's personnel.
This is the Big 6 in 60, the 6 biggest national sports stories from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now. Thank you for making the Big 6 in 60 your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Luka Doncic scored 42 points and led the way for the Lakers as they cruised to a win over the Cavs last night. The Kavnetsky brothers recap on Locked On Lakers.
Luka Doncic scored his 15,000th career point. It actually just seems like they all came this month. They didn't, but he also became the all-time leading scorer for the month of March, like single season for the Lakers. So he passed, not surprisingly, Kobe there for that award, and only like the second guy in history. I don't know who keeps track of this, but the second guy in history behind
someone
MJ.
Very busy this season keeps track of all this. Like
right.
whoever the research fellow or fellas are over at the Lakers this season, afterwards they better demand a raise. Like I would write before like game 80, demand a raise or walk. Because those
guys want LeBron out. It's too many milestones.
Yeah, it's like, look, man, we get it. Like Luka in his prime, we won another 10 years of this. LeBron's 41. With all sincere, deep respect, you got to go, bro.
You can only have one. There's just one guy. I'm sure it's an intern, for God's sake. But
there was milestones involving Rui.
Rui had his 5,000th career point. But Luka became the second player in league history. It's a weird stat, but an impressive one, to score 600 points in the month of March. Only Michael Jordan did that. And of course, the big milestone for LeBron James, he recorded his 1,229th win, regular season and playoffs, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most regular season and playoff wins in league history. To put it in perspective, that is 14.987 seasons worth of just wins. Just wins. It's 82-0 for basically 15 years. That is a lot of success on an NBA floor. But it was just overall, it was an outstanding night for the Lakers. Another 42 for Luka on 13 of 26 shooting. He had 12 assists. He had 2 steals. 5 other Lakers finish in double figures.
12 assists. By the way, 12 assists for Luka against 0 turnovers.
Yes.
I think this was one of Luka's. He is obviously. We'll get into some of the particulars over the course of this show. Said this a lot this month, but it keeps remaining true, even by Luka standards, even by the standards of what he's done over the course of his career. What he's been doing in March is bonkers. But I think this is one of the best games he's played during this period. Like when you talk about 42 points on 50% from the field, 6 of 13 from behind the arc, 100% at the line, 10 of 10. So it's like 50, I think it's 50, 43, 100 splits, and then 12 assists against 0 turnovers with that type of usage.
With a pair of steals.
I think this is one of the best games he has played in a string of jaw droppers.
And you can just tell, like, he's
even had a dunk.
He did. He punctuated the game. And I want to talk about the dunk, and I want to hold on to it because obviously it was a fun moment and all that kind of stuff. And he dunked, and Luka never dunks and all that kind of stuff. But we did a show on their chemistry and the continuity. I mean, not continuity, but the chemistry and the vibes and all that kind of stuff, and why this matters. This dunk was that. And so I don't want to get it's not a headliner for right now, but it's also something that I think is worth a couple minutes. So we'll get to it later in the show. But you go up and down the box score in this game, and there were positive contributions all over the place. LeBron was very effective. He didn't have to do a whole lot, but he played, he had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Jake LaRavia didn't miss a shot. He had 7 rebounds, was totally disruptive throughout the game. AR, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a pair of steals.
I don't think Austin had a particularly good game.
But he ended up with 19 points, and he's part of the contributing group. And DeAndre Ayton had 18 points on 8 of 13 shooting.
DeAndre was terrific.
He was fantastic. Rui en route to his 5,000th career point, only missed 2 shots. He had 14 points. There were positive contributions all up and down the roster.
Yes.
And they used the second quarter where they held Cleveland. Cleveland is a good team, folks. They're going to win 50 games this year. They held the Cavs to 19 points in that second quarter, built up a big lead. And while, it wasn't flawless, it would have been great if Luka didn't have to come back in the game in the fourth quarter. This is a top 4 Eastern Conference team the Lakers absolutely dismantled. It is as balanced and impressive a team win as they've had this season.
Keep in mind, the last time the Lakers and Cavaliers played, the Lakers lost by 30 points. And a little bit of caveats, Austin did not play in that game, and Austin's absence obviously matters, but you can't put losing by 30 simply on Austin not being there. And, it was one of, as JJ often puts it, the loud losses, and that type of loss that had a lot of people, including us, and I know a lot of our listeners and viewers, skeptical about what the record actually meant for the team and how much of it was kind of sound and fury signifying nothing, just because, they were maintaining anywhere from, at lowest 6 seed, at highest 3 seed, on paper, it looks great. But when you started matching them up against the type of teams that they would eventually play in the playoffs, they were not stacking up in the slightest, even with the acknowledgement of guys in and out of the lineup and whatever. Some of those good teams they lost to also were missing guys. Mm-hmm. This period that the Lakers have been playing has been largely against really good competition, and they have been, other than maybe OKC and San Antonio. OKC they'll play on Thursday, hottest team in the league. I mean, they just, at a period where you really start evaluating just what a team can be in the playoffs because you're running out of time to be anything else. Mm-hmm. This group has played really, really well.
15-2 in the month of March. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. During the tournament, FanDuel is offering $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. Yeah. So again, 15-2 in the month of March, which has included a ton of games against really good teams. And, with this win, I don't think, because they have 2 games left against the Thunder, I don't think you can totally say, with full-throated confidence that they will absolutely finish as the number 3 seed, but they have a pretty good avenue to get there. They are 2 games up on Denver in the standings. Of course, that equals really 3 games practically, because they own the tiebreaker over the Nuggets. More importantly, though, they are, I am prepared to say, not going to finish any worse than 4th, because while the gap with the Nuggets is still theoretically surmountable if you're a Denver fan, the Wolves right now are in 5th. Houston is in 6th. They're tied. Those teams are 3.5 games in regular standings behind the Lakers, 4.5 in practical standings because of the tiebreaker. And with, if I'm counting right, 7 games left? I think they got 6 games left. I forget.
It'll be 6 games left.
6 games left. No, they're not going to lose what amounts to a 4-game lead on either one of those teams. So the Lakers are going to host a first round playoff matchup.
We're bearing, by the way, not the lead because there are so many leads in this game, but we're bearing a lead. The Lakers are officially in the playoffs. They actually they were in the playoffs before this game even began because Phoenix lost a game earlier, and by virtue of that loss, the Lakers were in the playoffs. It required either a Laker win or a Suns loss. As it turns out, they got both. But they are actually, not that anybody had any doubts.
I mean, yeah, right, exactly.
But just for no other reason than to make sure people are aware, they are now in the playoffs.
Yeah, they get that little Y in the standings. Has clinched also they've clinched the division, playoff berth, clinched the division. So all of that happening for the Lakers.
The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. The Rockets got an easy win over the Knicks Tuesday as Kevin Durant scored 27 for Houston. Michael Connor breaks down that W on Locked On Rockets.
The Rockets take care of business tonight against the New York Knicks. 111-94. And if you're looking at this, you're realizing that the title of this is The Houston Rockets Are Mine, Who New York, Who Their Daddy Is. I'm not going to lie to you, went for the troll job on that one because Houston typically dominates New York. I know that they lost to the Knicks earlier this season, but I'm not too worried about it. I just wanted to see how many Knicks fans I could upset in comments somewhere on the internet, and that's what we're going for, New York fans in general. Hopefully that happens. We'll see what happens. But I am most excited about, and you're most excited about, and what we're talking about from this one is...
This is what you'll be talking about.
Like I kind of mentioned in the open there, I mean, look, they did this the other night against a really bad team in the New Orleans Pelicans. And tonight they're playing a good team in the New York Knicks. Rockets now 46-29 on the season. The Knicks 48-28. And I know that there is the backdrop of all of this in terms of seeding in the Western Conference. We've talked about this. I've talked about it. How my thoughts on it. I would prefer at this stage the Rockets stay the 6th seed and play the Los Angeles Lakers. I would just prefer to avoid the Denver Nuggets. That's just my preference. But what I want more than anything else, my preference more than anything else, is that down the stretch in these last 2 weeks of the season, the Rockets play good basketball. They play inspiring basketball. They give us reason to believe that, yes, all of a sudden, they're back to being a good team. They can go out there and they can do the things that it's going to take to get deep into the playoffs or at least win a playoff series. In the last 3 games, now I know the Memphis game was not necessarily great. You're playing a bunch of G League players, basically. But it felt like they took it a little bit more serious against the Pelicans. They came out and hammered them. And then tonight, you are again playing a playoff team from the East. They are currently, the Knicks are the 3 seed in the East. And the Rockets from the jump tonight really went out there and took it to them. And that, 14-1 run to start the game was this.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
That was the turning point of the game, coming out like they did, punching the opponent in the mouth. We have talked about that quite a few times, it feels like, with this team, that when things had gone bad recently, they were getting into these holes. And then they're having to climb out of it. And think about the Chicago game. We talked about that Chicago game. That was a rough game to do a post game for. and they climbed all the way back. But you shouldn't have ever been in those situations. And it's 2 games. I get it. Against one bad team, one good team. But you have to start a trend somewhere. And if this starts the trend of coming out and playing better basketball early in games, sign me up. Because it is something that they've needed to do. It is something that they need to do consistently to continue to bring back hope that, hey, yes, something here is actually real. This is a big night for my morale for this basketball team. They have a lot of opportunities down the stretch to continue my good positive feelings. Over the next couple of games, maybe not as much, but I will say this. These are games, these next 2, that you must win. Because these are games against teams that you should absolutely be beating. Knicks or the Bucks coming to town, and then the Jazz. And they'll head out, they'll play Golden State and Phoenix, come home, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Memphis. So there's still some games against some competition that matters. I'm giving them the space, and I think everybody should as well, for all the frustrations that we can have and, whatever we might feel. Let's just evaluate how they're going into the playoffs over these last final 2 weeks, he said easily, of the regular season. Good start with 3 consecutive wins now. What also is a good thing is that Tari Eason looks like Tari Eason, the good version of Tari Eason, not the guy that went in the absolute tank for this team for months on end, it felt like. Tari Eason tonight finishes his night with, sorry, I moved my page here on the box score. 17 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, a plus 21 in the plus minus category, second highest on the team. This is, of course, coming off of a good game against the Pelicans and a better, not great game against the Grizzlies, but better game. It's a big development for the Rockets. They need Tari Eason to be competent, period. He can't be a bad player for this team. We all know this. And that is something that I will continue to watch, that I know all of you will continue to watch. And if he can be his thing, whether he's off the bench or starting, he has to be, look, the Rockets are, here's the unfortunate, in terms of scoring, they're really about 6 players deep in terms of scoring on this team. That's it. It's Durant, it's Jabari, it's Alpi, it's Amin, it's Reed, and it is Tari. Outside of that, you're counting on nothing from basically anybody. I mean, look, there were 22 points off of your bench tonight. 20 of them were scored from Reed Shepherd. The Rockets are a 6-team offense, period. Anything else that you get from anybody else is like gravy at this point. So Tari has to continue to do this. Knocking down some corner threes. Corner 3. Just tremendous stuff. Tremendous boost again to feeling like maybe you're turning the corner. That'd be great because you need to have him. Rockets win. Rockets win. The Rockets win. You love to see it. How sweet it is. They beat the Knicks tonight. 111-94. I was going to say 92. 94. Rockets shoot the ball well from 3, 15 of 35, 43%. Shoot the ball well from the field. Outdo the Knicks on, or actually they didn't outdo the Knicks on the boards. I was just looking at defensive rebounds. They outdid them on defensive rebounds. Knicks outdid them on the boards just by a few, just by 3. But just an overall good night, and kept the turnovers down too. Only 8 turnovers for the Rockets in the game compared to 11 for the Knicks. Hey, props to Ime tonight. He made the lineup change, and I know that Ime gets a lot of crap from a lot of people, and there's a lot of people for some reason that want to fire him, and I just don't get it. But made the lineup change tonight. Put Tari in that starting lineup to go with the matchup game. That was a good one. That worked out for the Rockets tonight. And he went out there and everything about it was great. So props to Ime for that. And I did want to give one little bit of love too before we get out of here to Kevin Durant. Another night where Kevin Durant is...
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
We're giving it to KD for 27 points, 10 of 18 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, plus 28 in the plus minus category. And he took on the Knicks, basically trying to shut him out as much as they possibly could. That was absolutely fantastic tonight from him. And then I thought the other thing that worth mentioning, it's not a player of the game moment, but a team moment of the game. You know, Towns had a better second half, but look at what they did to basically Towns and Brunson tonight. They made those guys almost nothing. What did they have? 34 points between the two of them total. That's really good. That gives you confidence going into the postseason that you can shut down the other team's best players, at least make life really difficult on them consistently.
Frank Ragnow retired from the Detroit Lions last year, and we've now learned that Detroit made Ragnow return part of his signing bonus as a result. It's something the Lions have done before, and Matt Derry explains exactly what's going on Locked On Lions.
It broke this morning at Freep.com, a Rod Wood story in regards to the fact that, yes, Wood and the Lions once again tried to recoup and did recoup Frank Ragnow's signing bonus when Ragnow retired. Lions made the decision last year to recoup portions of the signing bonus given to All-Pro center Frank Ragnow, who of course retired with 2 years left on his contract. Rod confirms it to Dave in the story in the Free Press. Quote, "Our precedent goes all the way back to Barry Sanders," Wood said. "And if Barry Sanders paid back money, and I think the reality is they're not paying back their money, they're returning our money because they were paid in advance for services that they hadn't completed." End quote. Ay, 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 ay. Oh my gosh. What absolute nonsense this is. Why is Rod Wood talking? Now he's going public and saying, well, this is our precedent, Calvin, Barry, and now Frank Ragnow? The Lions actually asked Frank Ragnow, who played with like a punctured lung, who like his, his toes, like he couldn't even move his toes at one point, played through bevy of injuries. If he would have kept playing, would have been a Hall of Famer, similar to Barry and similar to Calvin Johnson. And here's the outgoing team president, once again, speaking and just putting his foot in his mouth. And nationally, the Lions are getting absolutely ransacked for this. Everybody's chiming in. I'll tell you what Gaines Media poster boy Alex Anzalone had to say. Jason Kelsey is chiming in. And everybody is tooling on our team. Now, again, this has nothing to do with Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and the organization on a football level. Rod Wood likes to talk, apparently, and knows that once he retires, nobody wants to talk to him anymore. He's going to retire and go back to being somebody that nobody knows, right? When he worked for Ford Estates. Why on earth would you publicly admit that you took back some of Frank Ragnow's bonus money? Why? Why would you do this? Oh my gosh. And you're citing tradition as why you did it and precedent? Ragnow had $3 million in prorated signing bonus payments remaining from the contract extension he signed in 2021, and it looks like the Lions took back nearly $2 million of it. Rod kept going. Quote, "It's the Lions' money. It's not the players' money." Oh my God. No, you're not doing this again. You're not dragging the Lions into this again, Rod. Why? Rod ruined the Lions' relationship with Calvin Johnson, and it had to be fixed. And thank you, Mike Disner and others, for repairing that relationship, because as I've told you the story numerous times here on Locked On Lions, Calvin Johnson wanted to retire. Calvin was going to do it the week before the Bears game. He goes down the hallway where the coaches are. He goes to Jim Caldwell and says, "Coach, I love you. I'm done. I'm going to retire." Caldwell calls Bob Quinn. I believe it was Bob Quinn and Rod Wood upstairs. Quinn says, hold on a second, Calvin. Let's think about this. And Rod immediately turns to Calvin and says, did you earn all your bonus? And Calvin's like, middle finger to the air. F you. And Calvin's like, I'm done with the Lions. And the relationship now is being repaired and has been repaired. Thank goodness. And now he's going public doing a victory lap on Frank Ragnow. You couldn't have just let it go. A couple $1 million. Let Frank keep it. The guy played with punctured lungs and everything else for you. The best center to ever probably play the game for the Lions. I mean, yes, Kevin Glover was good and others. Jeez, man. Yesterday he said, from a cash perspective, we're going to be league average, making Sheila look cheap. Okay. Today, he makes him look even more cheap because it's our tradition. It's our money. And now I get it. Some of you are going to say, well, don't other teams do this? Some do, some don't. Remember, Jerry Jones said when Tony Romo retired, we let him keep his bonus. I'm trying to remember some other owners that have said we would not do that to our players. No wonder Taylor Decker hasn't announced his retirement yet. He wants to keep his money. Pay that man his money. All right. Oh my God. I know what some of you are going to say. I know what some of the listeners are going to say. I can see the YouTube comments coming through when I post this video. And I know what you're going to say on our Twitter and Locked On Lions social media. I know what's going to happen. Stop picking on the Lions. Stop talking about this stuff off the field. I'm telling you, this is a bad look. You might have disagreed with me on the Taylor Decker stuff. But how can you as a fan disagree with me on this? This looks horrible. Barry Sanders was furious with this franchise for not letting him keep his bonus. It took a lot to get Barry back and in their good graces. Same goes for Calvin Johnson. I know Frank Ragnow is not Barry or Calvin, but Frank Ragnow was pretty damn good. Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. Quote, Sheila has been a huge breath of fresh air in Detroit, has done some tremendous things, will surely keep doing them, but this sort of stuff just can't continue. You work so hard to build goodwill with the locker room, and this stuff crushes it in seconds. It's nonsense. Sheila Hamp needs to stop this now. Having Rod Wood cite tradition as a reason why a guy who fractured his throat for you had to give money back is bull bleep. That's from Nick at The Athletic. I'm going to tell you what Alex Anzalone and also Jason Kelsey had to say in a second, but I feel badly for Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. I do. Because their team president, who claimed when he took the job that he's going to stay out of football, can't stay out of football. He just can't help himself. He can't help himself. And I know he's on the way out. He is supposed to talk, I believe, at the Detroit Economic Club in a couple of weeks. He might not show up. The Lions might tell him. Sheila might call him and go, do not show up. You're going to be sick that day. Who knows what he's going to say? Yesterday, he threw the ownership under the bus and said, from a cash perspective, we're league average. How could the Lions be league average in cash when they're swimming in it the last few years? Y'all are paying crazy money for those tickets and for the swag and everything else. The Lions are a hot ticket in this town. It makes Sheila look cheap. Now today, oh yeah. Oh, Frank Ragnow. We made him pay back his bonus. Whee! Ay. It's precedent. Precedent? Didn't you learn anything from Barry and Calvin?
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. Arizona and Michigan will face off in the Final Four as the last two number one seeds in the NCAA tournament, and the Wildcats will have to stop the Wolverines' elite offense to get to the championship game. Leif Thulin breaks down how to make that happen on Locked On Wildcats.
A deep dive of Michigan's personnel, backcourt and frontcourt, top to bottom, and also discuss a trend that, if stays true to form, bodes very, very well for your Arizona Wildcats. So let's dive right in. So let's start in the front court. The front court is what makes Michigan special, and it's what makes them go, because they have one enormous size, going 7'3", 6'10", 6'9" in the front court. That's enormous. That's bigger than NBA teams, but those three are all unicorns. They all play very different styles of basketball than what that height would typically lead you to believe. So let's start with the first-team All-American, Yaxel Lendeberg. The most interesting thing about Yaxel is his usage rate is not very high. And while you may say, how can he be a first-team All-American and be deserving of that praise, Big Ten Player of the Year in an excellent Big Ten, and he doesn't have the ball that much? That is an interesting concept, because there's an argument to be made that he isn't as important to his team as many of the other guys because the rest of his team is excellent. I think that's an unfair argument to be made. But it is interesting. He's fourth in the team in usage rate. There are games where he disappears offensively and Michigan still wins by a ton. It's a credit to their team. They're not solely dependent on him. But let's talk about what he does do very well, which is why he gets this. One, defensively, he is amazing. This is mostly going to be offensive, but I'll give you some description for it. Defensively, he guards at the point of attack, and at 6'9", he's able to guard basically 1 through 5. He's sturdy. He's strong. He can guard point of attack. He can challenge threes. He can take the ball away from point guards. He's defended All-Americans this season. He defended Braden Smith at times. He defended against Keaton Wagler. So you see him guard guards, and he has the size to defend bigs. Now, the next thing that's really interesting to me is when you look at what he does offensively, the numbers to me are a little bit deceiving, because what he does offensively is he's a driver. His offensive rating is an 138.1, so which is the best on the team. So he is very efficient, but he only is a percentage of possessions used 20.6. For instance, Adai Mara, 24. You got Elliot Cadeau about 22.6, and then Morris Johnson, 21. So Yaxel is not used as frequently, but percentage of shots, he's at 21.4, and Adai Mara, 21.1 is second. So you look at that and you say, okay, he's not as integral in the buildup of how they score, but he's a play finisher and he's great at it. And his effective field goal percentage is very good. He shoots 60.6, his true shooting 65%. And these basically say he's good at twos and he's good at threes. But where I say the stats are misleading is his impact offensively is as a play finisher, and he's most dynamic to me in transition. I think he's an excellent driver in transition. His free throw rate is solid. He draws 4.4 fouls per 40 minutes, and he shoots 81% at the line. But here's where it's interesting to me. When he shoots twos, he shoots 65%. When he shoots threes, he shoots 37%, which is very good. But I don't think he's a 37% shooter by eye test. I think the reason he shoots well from three is because teams would rather him shoot threes, and also because Adai Mara is enormous. Morris Johnson's enormous, and he's the beneficiary of getting great looks and knocks down shots. I think it's more important to look at volume of three-pointers attempted than percentage. And when you shoot 172 attempts from deep this season, 172 divided by, what are they at, 38 games? Let's guess 38. That's 4 threes in a game, and that's pretty good volume. Now, the catch and shoot stuff, probably pretty good. Off the deck, you don't know. So he's a vastly improved shooter. But if I'm Arizona, I want him shooting, and I'm not going to necessarily help off of him, but I would rather him shoot than get downhill and draw fouls, because that's what he does very well. Want to keep him out of transition. That is of the utmost importance. That is important. The guy that I think is most important to stop in terms of what he does best is Adai Mara. And I think he's the true matchup nightmare that Michigan really takes advantage of. He's 7'3", played at UCLA, didn't really fit with Mick Cronin. Goes to Dusty May, and they play two bigs, and you're worried, like, okay, how's the spacing going to be? How, like, they can block shots, they'll impact different stuff. But he's their focal point of their offense and their best pure passer. And why this is important is he allows Yaxel to get those catch and shoots and attack closeouts. He's a fantastic passer. His assist rate is very, very high. And then what's interesting is Arizona doesn't need to double him. Arizona won't need to double Adai Mara because behind him, defending him will be Mo Krivas. And Mo Krivas doesn't need help in this. I'll be curious to see if one-on-one scoring will be something Adai Mara can do or attempts to do against Arizona. Adai Mara, another thing to know about him is he's got soft touch. He's got good skill. He shoots 68% from two, but he shoots only 55% from the free throw line. And he doesn't really shoot threes. He's attempted 9 on the season. So Arizona can play drop against him. They will play drop. And Adai Mara, in terms of his offensive rebound percentage, it's all right. It's not great. The only thing that I will say as to why it could be that not so great compared to his 7'3" height is because Morris Johnson's an elite rebounder. We'll get to Morris Johnson in a moment. But Adai Mara is the advantage creator. Most teams have to double him, and he's a fantastic passer. Sees over the top. He's got good spin, good feels to what happens in the game. Like if he sees that you're doubling, he can spin away from it. If he sees that you're doubling from a side he sees over, he's going to skip the ball, and they get great looks out of double teams. Arizona will not need to double, and I think that takes away some of the three-point prolific nature of Michigan. Michigan is a 37% three-point shooting team, and they're not bashful. Arizona cannot survive. I mean, they survive better than just about anyone, but they cannot survive a barrage of threes because their paint attack likely will not be as efficient as it typically is because Michigan is a stellar interior defense. So Arizona must take away the three-point line. I think it stems from taking away Adai Mara and his ability to create advantages by facing double teams. I don't think Arizona has to double. Adai Mara will have to take advantage of post-ups individually, and I think Mo Krivas can guard him better than just about anyone. I like that for Arizona. That makes Yaxel have to do more with one-on-one stuff, and I believe it'll be Ivan Karchenkov and Koa Pete guarding him. Largely Ivan Karchenkov, who usually you see scampering around guarding guys, but they play the majority of their minutes. Their most used lineup is their starting lineup, and that's Yaxel at the 3, Morez Johnson at the 4, and Adai Mara at the 5. I don't think Karchenkov guards Morez or Adai, so you're going to see Karchenkov play someone bigger than him. Yaxel's nearly 24. Ivan's a freshman, but Ivan's as physical as a defender as there is. He's got the lateral quickness to deal with guys like Yaxel, which makes him too fast for the two big guys. And Yaxel's not that much bigger than Ivan Karchenkov. I'm very eager to see that matchup and see if Ivan can frustrate him. Now let's get to Morez Johnson. Morris Johnson's a guy I've really been fond of for a long time. He played at Illinois, and as a freshman, he played through a broken wrist. He's just an absolute dog. He rebounds everything. His rebound rate's enormous. It's staggering. And he's become a far better free throw shooter, which is something that's important in this game because there's going to be fouls because a lot of these teams are going to be near the basket. A lot of these front court, these big bodies will be near the basket. He shoots 78% from the line. He shoots 66% from two. And he's not a three-point shooter. He shoots 36%. He's taken 33 in the season. You live if Morris Johnson shoots threes. You live. And what he does very well is rebound. And he's kind of a play finisher that's going to find the ball via Morris Johnson alley-oops. He's going to get out and run, via Adai Mara to Morris Johnson alley-oops. And he's going to get out and run and be a far better athlete than he used to. Arizona's got the horses to run with at Michigan. You don't want to get in a track meet, I don't think. I think Arizona's going to want to control the pace because if you look at the games Michigan's lost, they've lost to Purdue, who limits turnovers. They did a great job controlling pace against Arizona for the most part in their game, and they do a great job in general. Wisconsin limits turnovers with the best of them, hit 18 threes in that game and beat them in Ann Arbor. And then Duke won the boards by a ton and were able to eke out a victory in D.C. in a neutral site game. And D.C., Duke had a House of Horrors type of finish in that one. But what you do know is that Duke has the horses to rebound up front. So you got to be able to rebound and control pace. And I'm looking at the stats right now for Purdue and Michigan. And Purdue and Michigan in the Big Ten tournament, when Purdue beat them, which is a team we know well. We just played them. They did not shoot that well from three, which was a bit of a surprise to me when I look at this statistically. But when you look at the rebounds, Michigan only won by a little bit. And then when you look at turnovers, which is where Michigan really typically forces issues, they force turnovers and get out and run. It's not like they force a billion turnovers, but when they get out and run, they're a train that you can't stay with them. Purdue only had 2 turnovers. That's what you get when you have an elite point guard. Braden Smith went 6 of 9 from 2 in this game, scored 14 points, but had an 11 assists. We talked about taking away Braden Smith is pivotal, but he was the complete ownership of that game. So the front court of Michigan's elite. Arizona can match it. You got to make Yaxel a shooter and take away open shots by not doubling Daimara and keep Morez Johnson off the offensive glass.
The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. NC State had to find a new head coach for the second straight season after Will Wade left for LSU, and the Wolfpack decided on Tennessee assistant Justin Gainey for the job. Grayson Boone and Kenton Gibbs have the details on Locked On Wolfpack.
Justin Gainey has been officially, well, I guess technically still unofficially, but he is expected to officially be named the 22nd head coach of NC State men's basketball. That broke out this morning. Obviously, the two of us had already heard kind of later on Sunday night that this would be coming down the pipeline. It hits the media. The fan base is feeling great about this. It was very heartwarming to see the outpouring of support as we've kind of seen kind of trickle out over the last couple days. But now, ultimately, I'd say it's like 99% official. We're just waiting for the official word from the university and from Buch, Oregon. I've seen that the press conference is scheduled for Wednesday. I've also seen there's a board of trustees meeting for Tuesday, probably to solidify that contract. But Kenton, it is now official. Buch, Oregon goes out and gets his guy. Justin Gainey, the former Wolfpack point guard, is coming home to lead this program.
Exciting times for the Wolfpack. Exciting times. I mean, the reality is, it's so the antithesis of so many things that we just experienced. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
In a bunch of ways. You talk about the loyalty. You talk about this place meaning something to them. You talk about even the philosophy, right? Like, I'm sure that this thing has made its rounds, and most of our listeners have already seen it. But Justin Gainey is saying our defensive philosophy is we're going to contest every shot because we are a college program. And then college, if you give players open shots, they'll make them. I'm like, oh, here I am thinking like, hey, you got to give up something. You got to give up something. And Justin Gainey's like, you got to give up the blank you will give up something. So, I'm excited to have him. Heck of a recruiter, heck of a coach. Defensively, you know that this team is going to be about something special. Offensively, you kind of wonder what's the deal there? What can you make happen in that regard? And I think it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, at the end of the day, like I've said in the past, Justin Gainey had the highest boom potential. It could come to pass. It could come to pass that if Justin Gainey does very well here, he's going to be here. He's going to be here for a while, if that's the situation. Like Grayson said, he's a younger coach. He's got plenty of coaching left in front of him. And this is a guy that he's a Wolfpack alum. There is so many great things that happen there. The defensive philosophy. And the biggest thing, Grayson, the biggest thing I'm excited about?
What's that?
Justin Gainey talks a lot about having length on the court. Thank God. Finally. And this is no knock on any previous coaches. When is the last time we had a coach that said, we are going to be a really long team? We're going to be big. We're going to have some big fellas, some girth and tonnage down low to, make it a little bit difficult at the rim. When's the last time we had that, Grace?
I mean, there were a couple Keats teams that were relatively long. Gottfried had some size. You think about BJ Anya, Leonard Freeman at times. I don't know. You have to go back maybe to like the Sidney Lowe days, maybe Herb Sendek. It's been a long time since it's been consistent, to your point. That's
all I'm saying. Give me some big fellas down there. Give me some. I'm tired of saying, oh yeah, we're at a size disadvantage, and when you're at a size disadvantage, this is just what it is. Big men lead, not just in football, Shout out to Coach Tuje. This is not just a football moniker, because we've seen it with how many teams that the big fellas carry the night. We saw Duke in that massive collapse, but what was at the center of that collapse? Terrace Reed was giving them boys all they could handle down low. Hell, even if we look at Duke's last collapse against Houston, what happened? They had a 6'9" guy out rebounding 7-foot Kamen Malawa. So, and this ain't a show to bash Duke and what they got going on. It's a tough time for the Triangle in terms of basketball. A very tough time right now. But this is to say that when your bigs are setting the tone, yes, guard play is extremely important to tournament play and all that. But the reality is, when those big fellas are setting the tone, when those big fellas are staying out of foul trouble and protecting that rim, it gives you a shot in every game. How do y'all think Miami won so many games this year?
Exactly.
Again, they didn't have the biggest team, but you know what they did well? Those boys, they could jump out the gym, and they were, even if they weren't that long in terms of height, just like Grayson mentioned BJ Anya. BJ Anya is not as tall as the traditional center, but he's got arms that he could darn near grab it. He could darn near scratch his calves standing straight up. So it's an ordeal where it's like, okay, there's length there, even if it's not traditionally what length looks like. I'm just tired of being, oh yeah, we're gonna get beat on the boards, but we can make it up in other ways. Finally, we got a coach that said, no, enough of this nonsense, enough of this foolishness. Get me some tall trees underneath.
And I think, obviously, the selling point for Gainey is the ability to recruit. He's a proven recruiter. Well, I'll get to some of that later, but he has relationships with some guys that were on our team this year. So bookmark that. I'll circle back. But you think about the talent that he's had, especially the last 4 to 5 years at Tennessee. They've had, under Gainey, they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different NBA draft picks. How many have we had at NC State in that same time period? 0.
And I want you to think about this. Who would you say, if you had to name top 3 to 4 folklore heroes for NC State in the past couple of years in terms of basketball? Who would you name?
Obviously, DJ Burns. Obviously,
who recruited DJ Burns when he first got into college? Who recruited him?
Oh, hold on now.
Where did DJ Burns start his college career? What year? Who was the assistant coach there?
How did this one slip my brain? Let me look this up real fast.
Horrible
live show here.
The reality is, again, Justin Gainey has shown time and time again that he goes out and he gets the best guys. Time and time again, he shows that length matters, size matters. He's going to get the guys underneath that he absolutely needs. So, this is the reality of what we're looking at. I'm excited about the hire. Grace is excited about the hire. All of Wolfpack Nation is excited about the hire because, again, this is a guy that has, we know the drawbacks of the no head coaching experience and all that, but this is our head coach. He loves the pack. He really wants to be here. He really wants to do this job. And with the resources he's given, I'm going to just say this. There are lots of coaches that I don't think a ton of as like, if you put him on an even playing field with everybody else, I'm not sure. I think there are lots of coaches right now in the NCAA born on third base a little bit. 100%. Every school that they've led are schools that are super resourced up. But guess what happens when you put people at super resourced up schools? They win.
Yep.
They win. And so if we're looking at 13 to 14 M's for Justin in terms of, or for Coach Gainey in terms of, what he needs in those regards, hey, I'm excited for him.
All right, so I had to double check on DJ Burns. He was before Gainey was at Tennessee. I mean, we would have probably lost our minds if there was a connection to be drawn there.
That's fair.
But regardless, yes, the talent that Gainey has been able to acquire and draw to Tennessee is nothing to sneeze at. So you got to figure that's a massive selling point, obviously, for him. And then, the overarching point is he is one of our own. And that's kind of what I've been pushing here for the last, 5 days because of how quickly this has gone through. You think about the need for stability at NC State basketball right now. You need somebody that wants to be here, is driven to improve NC State basketball and see it through no matter what. That is Justin Gainey. This is probably, in terms of those concepts, this is your guy. This is the top guy that you could have brought in to introduce and hold up all of those values for us. So it's very exciting to have one of our own return. Obviously, he was a fan favorite back in the day from 96 to 2000 running the point. We obviously know the fable of his ACC tournament days back in 97 and 98. I mean, just playing every minute of every game. You couldn't take him off the court. Think about an NC State basketball team in 2026 and 2027 operating under that mindset. Defensive-minded, tough. You cannot mentally beat this team like we saw. Well, not to get into it, but you understand what I'm picking up and putting down here. So very valuable recruiting aspects coming to NC State now. The relationships in which Gainey has built over the course of 20 years. Started his unofficial coaching career in 2006 as a operations assistant with NC State. Now 20 years later, he is regaining his position as the head coach of NC State men's basketball. Special time. Again, I cannot say enough about the outpouring of love I saw all over social media today. Everyone is so excited for this to be his shot. And like I said yesterday, and I'll say it probably a million more times until we tip the new season off in November, I am so excited that this is where it's all going to come to fruition for Justin Gainey. Obviously, he's got 3 kids. Jordan actually just played for him at Tennessee a couple of years ago. But what a moment this has to be for the Gainey family and all those in the Wolfpack fraternity, all the former players that have come out and, bid Gainey as their decision. And I'm sure you're going to see a lot more connection to players past around our program now. And that's something I've really been starving for decades now. And so to watch Justin Gainey get this opportunity, it's going to be very special times around this NC State men's basketball program.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. The Magic held off the Suns and took a needed win as they fight for playoff position in the East. Philip Rossman-Wright goes over that win from In the Arena postgame on Locked On Magic.
Today's game and this recap of that game absolutely has to start with the context of what happened Sunday night. I had a lot of people come up to me and say, like, my last 2 episodes, certainly my episode after the Raptors game, was right on point, and people within the building, people who don't necessarily work at basketball ops, but work for the team and work in the building and follow this team. And it's been a rough couple days. It's hard to wipe the stench of a 52-point loss off you. And really the only way and the only thing you can do to get that out of your system. And again, at this point of the season, it doesn't matter how you win. It doesn't matter what the win is like. Like, yes, you want to do your process and be pointing toward the playoffs, but the only thing that matters is that you get the win. And Orlando so desperately needed a win. This win had its flaws, and we're going to get to those flaws. We're going to talk about where the Magic need to continue to improve and why this game was still a bit of a struggle. But let's also be clear about this too. This was not the Sacramento. This was not a team hanging on against a team that is tanking. This is not a team that played poorly and didn't do the things that they had to do to win and just beat a bad team. The Phoenix Suns are a really good basketball team. They defend with the same intensity and pressure that the Toronto Raptors do, and they caught the Magic in a lot of their mistakes. But what was different about this game and what was different about this game compared to so many others the Magic have had this season is the Magic let their defense lead. The Magic did not, yes, they had shaky moments on defense. They were far from perfect, but they end up giving up just 101.8 points per 100 possessions. Very fast-paced game, 108.5 possessions. Crazy pace in this game, plus all the fouling, plus all that. We'll get to that. This game was all about the Magic's defense. It was all about their defensive effort, their defensive intensity. It was that way from the start. And so the Magic delivered this incredibly intense effort. The Magic delivered an effort that they could be proud of because at the end of the day, this was a close game. Tied entering the fourth quarter. Should it have been, should not have been. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Magic over the last, let's see here. I'm gonna find it because we were tracking the stat. We weren't quite sure. Over the last, I don't know where is it? Over the last, over the final 5.5 minutes, 5:34. Devin Booker made a layup to tie the game at 105. Sorry, Dylan Brooks made a jumper with 5:26 left to make it a 107-105 game. Over the last 5 minutes and 26 seconds, the Phoenix Suns made one field goal, and that was at the very end of the game. Orlando outscored the Suns 10-4 over those final 5 minutes. This was a game that was played at a blistering pace, had a lot of points, had a lot of baskets in this game. It was not a particularly well-defended game, especially through the middle two quarters. But in the end, this came down to defense. It came down to whether the Magic were going to get a stop and give up just one field goal over the last 5.5 minutes, 5:20 of a close game. When you're missing shots, when you're unable to get that distance and not necessarily always able to execute cleanly offensively, to be able to rely on your defense to get those stops, that's been the missing element all season. That is what we imagine, at least, what Orlando Magic basketball is. And from the jump, Orlando held Suns to 21 points in the first quarter. They forced 8 steals. They hounded and played with intense energy. Intense energy. Energy that we have not seen consistently from this team throughout the course of the season. Again, so much of this is about the response. I certainly expected, the Magic to come out a little angry, to come out with much more focus. There was no way they could roll over and let a team beat them up the way that the Raptors did. They were not going to sleepwalk through this game. And obviously now the question is, okay, you got the response game. You answered the call. Are you going to do it again? Are you going to be able to do it Wednesday against a very good Atlanta team that is a little bit stronger offensively than this Phoenix team? Even though Devin Booker is an incredible player, I'm not taking anything away from him, but Atlanta is a different beast right now. They're playing extremely well. Are the Magic going to answer that call tomorrow? Now you got to start stacking. But for one night, the defense did the job. Orlando finished with 13 steals. They had 8 in the first quarter, like I said, to set the tone for the game that they're going to play this kind of frenetic style and play like what we imagine to be Magic basketball. Phoenix as a team shot 39.8% from the floor, 30.4% from 3, 14 for 46. They gave up 11 offensive rebounds, but they forced 20 turnovers and scored 26 points off those turnovers. Phoenix was just 4 for 11 for 13 points off those second chance points, and we'll get to the fouling. This was not a perfect game. As Jamal Mosley put it after the game, they played great defense in the first quarter. and great defense in the fourth quarter. They built a big enough lead, leading by 14 at the half, leading by as much as 16, to where they could make these mistakes. And that just starts with the effort. That just starts with the intensity, with the focus. Like I said, I am not here to tell you the Magic are perfect. I am not here to tell you that the Magic defense is back. It's one game. And frankly, after 52-point loss, if the Magic did not play with this intensity on defense, did not do everything in their power to win this game, I would have been shocked. Even with everything that has happened this season, I would have been shocked if the Magic did not win this game or did not do everything within their power to make sure they won this game. Now, they did a lot of things to nearly give it away, and I do want to talk about that later on because this was not a clean game. Orlando should have won this game by 15, 20 points. And that's not an offense to the Suns. The Suns missed a lot of open shots down the stretch. The Suns looked like they played in Memphis last night at the end of the game. And Orlando did the job to make it hard for them so that fatigue is a real thing. Back-to-backs are hard. Having said that, Orlando's now 4-8 on the second night. They're 4-9 on the second night of back-to-backs. They are 8-4 on the. They're 4-8 on the first night, or 4-9 on the first night of back-to-backs. They're 8-4 on the second night of back-to-backs. So beware, Hawks. Beware of second night Magic, and there might be a surprise in store for Atlanta tomorrow as well. But this is exactly what the Magic need. To respond to such a big defeat, to maybe have that come to Jesus moment, to have that critical talking point, that look in the mirror, as Jalen Suggs said after the game, and defend like this, that's how the Magic need to win. And you know, should it have taken 75 games for us to get there? Absolutely not. This is no. We knew this in October, that this is the way the Magic have to win games. I'd say better late than never, but it is late. It is too late. It is going to be very hard to climb out of the play-in. As I mentioned, the Hawks have 6 games left. If they go 3-3, the Magic got to go 8-0 to pass them. That's the situation. If I'm not mistaken, if I did my math correctly. Maybe I didn't do my math correctly. I don't know. But that's the situation the Magic are in. There's one. They got to go 7-0 now, including a win tomorrow. But today, celebrate a win.
That's all for today's Big 6 in 60. If you follow basketball, football, or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has a half hour on the biggest news in the NFL, the NBA, and on campus, going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NBA, the Big 3 in 30 NFL, or the Big 3 in 30 college, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 6 in 60.